This is a crazy one. Braverman's crazy law costs £1.5 million a day because 22,000 migrants can't be removed. We're going to read into this exclusive for my news, you guys. Let's go. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. This is Reganelite here with an exclusive for my news with the headline that Braverman's crazy law costs £1.5 million a day because 22,000 migrants can't be removed? What? The exclusive reveals that the Home Office insiders condemned legislation meaning the department cannot deport huge cohorts of migrants or let them stay. Now, before we even read this article, guys, I'm going to give you my initial thoughts. And if you can, before I do, hit the like button and share it across social media so other people are notified of this video. Now, this headline sounds incredibly crazy, but I wonder how much truth there is into this. Now, I am a little bit skeptical. I haven't read the article yet, so we will be reading it together and I'll be sharing my thoughts as we go along, of course. But to say that is it entirely on Suella Braverman? I've got a feeling that that's not entirely accurate. I'm going to go out on a limb here before I even read this and say that maybe, just maybe, this might have something to do with Brexit. And the reason why I say that is because we used to have, when we were part of the EU, it was much easier for us to remove migrants coming across, to move from migrants back to France. But we don't have the same powers that we had when we were part of the European Union. We have much less powers. And in fact, it's actually a lot harder for us to get rid of migrants, especially illegal ones. Now, to get them on the planes and obviously back to countries of origin especially is extremely difficult, let alone impossible, if they claim to be in danger or their lives could be in danger of any way, shape or form. That makes it even more difficult. So what is it about this law that makes it that they can't be removed? So let's read into it, guys, just to get our heads around this headline. So, a crazy contradiction in Rishi Sunak's flagship small boats law has left the Home Office powerless to deport or grant to more than 22,000 migrants already in the UK, the eye can reveal. At least half of the asylum seekers left in limbo indefinitely will be living in costly hotels, likely to be costing the taxpayer more than £1.5 million a day. The situation has been caused by the Illegal Migration Act, which requires the government to remove illegal migrants, but only applies to those who enter the country from the 20th of July 2023. So essentially, those before the 20th of July 2023, they can't remove them then. Is that my understanding here? Is that the reason? We said a lot of things about the Illegal Migration Act and how about a lot of things that it had, but let's keep reading. But the same legislation also bans the government from granting asylum to any migrants who enter the UK illegally on or after the 7th of March 2023. Okay. So it has left the Home Office with no practical way of dealing with the 22,448 migrants who have arrived in the country between those 2 days. So let me read this again. So the same legislation also bans the government from granting asylum to any migrants who enter the UK illegally. Are you kidding me? They shot themselves in the foot with this bill. So they can't grant them, but they can't deport them. Wow. Because of that time gap. Wow. Okay, that's really stupid. The Home Office source calls the situation crazy and says the department had acknowledged the situation with an internal bar on the processing of asylum applications lodged over that period. Well, what are they supposed to do? Well, they're going to have to accept them, aren't they then? That's the only other way around it. They're going to have no other choice. If they can't deport them, but they can't accept them because of banning them because they entered the UK illegally. But there's no legal routes anyway. There's no legal routes actually, unless you're from Hong Kong, unless you're from Ukraine. There's no legal route for them to come anyway. So I don't know what the solution is here. You can't. Wow, this is really bad. They haven't decided what to do with them yet, and that's why we are not processing their claims. They said they can't work, rent, or have access to any forms of leave to live in the UK. But you can't deport them either. So what are you supposed to do with them? What on earth are you supposed to do with them in this situation? My God. I think, well, the obvious thing here is emergency legislation needs to come in place to deal with this, because you have 22,000 plus migrants now in accommodations around the country being paid by the UK taxpayer, unable to contribute to society, unable to be deported, just sitting there at our expense because they can't be dealt with, because the government screwed up, and screwed up big time. They've got to pass some kind of emergency legislation, but will they? No. I've got a feeling they're probably going to leave it in Labour's hands, because they're the ones who are likely to come into government in the next general election, and let them deal with this. But these people are being left in limbo here, and we're paying for it. And the government tie themselves in knots over this because of this stupid idea of, yeah, we're going to ban anyone who comes to the UK illegally. Look how well this is going for us, guys. You know, immigration lawyers say some people were invited to asylum interviews that were later cancelled because of the situation, with one being told that temporary barrier had come into force in early December. A former Tory minister said the situation was caused by their colleagues' incompetence, and blamed former Home Secretary Braverman for rushing through the new small boats laws and driving the party into a corner. See, this is her fault. This silly person. There's plenty of other names I know to call her, but my God, she is just so vile, and she's left this mess. It's absolutely catastrophic for them. Absolutely bonkers. This is down to ministerial incompetence, said the MP who did not want to be named. Yeah, I'm not surprised you don't want to be naming anything. They've created a system where you cannot process asylum seekers and you cannot remove them. We've got 22,000 people in limbo through rushing through inadequate legislation that is causing taxpayers huge amount of money without any action being taken. It's gross incompetence by the very people who keep on shouting about illegal migration. A source close to Miss Braverman responded saying, the clown who said that has no idea what they're talking about. So what, is she saying that this is not her fault? So it looks like the Eye might have some ideas here. So how to solve this Home Office mess? Right, so what are they looking at? So the Home Office is now considering its potential options, but it faces difficulty because the rules are written into primary legislation which cannot be easily changed. Dr. Ruth Fox, an expert on parliamentary procedure and director of the Hands-on Society, said that significant unanticipated problems will sometimes require new law to be introduced. Like I said, emergency legislation, I think. Ministers could bring in a short new bill to rectify the problem, she added. Alternatively, government lawyers can look at whether there are powers in the Act or in another Act allowing ministers to lay regulations to amend the problematic piece of primary legislation. Dr. Fox said that although the second option could attract less scrutiny, it will still require parliamentary debate and an approved vote of both the Commons and the Lord. Oh, this is a waste of their time when they've got more important things to be doing as well. But at the same time, like, they're sitting there, these people, and we're paying them. So it's also another thing that needs to be dealt with. £1.5 million going out of pocket. A significant portion of the asylum seekers in limbo come from countries including Afghanistan, Eritrea and Syria, and these people would be likely to be granted refugee status and leave to remain in the UK if their applications were considered. Excuse me. They're not going to be going back to those countries. If you don't know the history of them, please Google them. They're not going to go back to those countries. And I don't blame them. Some Home Office officials believe that asylum seekers in the cohort could be deported under processing that predate the law designed to set up deportations with Rwanda. But the UK cannot deport to other countries without deals in place and remove the non-Albanians has grounds to near halt since the UK was kicked out of the EU-wide returns mechanism during Brexit. Yeah, like I said, I thought Brexit would have a factor into this. Yeah. The government has a legal duty to house and financially support destitute asylum seekers awaiting decision on their claim. This is the kicker. Hotels cost £140 per person per night, according to the Home Office figures, meaning that rooms for even half the 22,000 stuck in limbo would cost more than £1.5 million a day. See, we can't even put them to work because the government changed the legislation as well. So they can't even work to actually pay for their well-being. They have to sit there. We have to pay them. Because the government changed the legislation, because beforehand, back under Labour, that anyone coming to they could actually work before they could actually work, but they can't now because the government changed it. Excuse me. This is so infuriating. £1.5 million a day. The Illegal Migration Act, held as a Stop the Boats bill by the Prime Minister, aimed to stop asylum seekers who arrive in Britain irregularly from being able to stay. But it hasn't even done that! It hasn't even done that! And all it's done is made things worse. It imposes a new legal duty on the Home Secretary, which has not been triggered, to remove small boat migrants and others who meet the Act's conditions to Rwanda and other countries. The law was brought forward after the government won the first stage of the legal battle over the Rwanda scheme, which was later ruled unlawful, and ministers assumed that they would be able to start flights by September. They are not going to get those flights up. Get this through your head, guys. There will be no flights going to Rwanda before the general election. Rishi Sunak will be paying Piers Morgan £1,000. A political row over whether the controversial measure should apply from March last year when the bill was introduced to Parliament or when it was passed in July resulted in different parts taking effect at different times. If you want to know about the bet, I'll put a link in the description if you really want to know. Last-minute amendments meant the core duty to remove illegal migrants cannot apply to anyone arriving in the Act receiving royal assent on 20th of July. But the government is still banned from giving those who arrive after March the 7th to leave to remain in the UK. Official figures show that cohort peaks at almost 23,000 applicants in July and that 22,448 remained by the end of December. It is thought that the 500 or so claims have been processed over that time may fall into categories that can be exempt from such removals, such as unaccompanied children. Only 11,000 migrants arrived on small boats from March the 7th to the 19th of July 2023, but the Illegal Migration Act also covers people who enter the UK without leave by other means who use fraudulent documents. Yeah, so obviously it's not just it's not just those coming by boats, guys, which is really, really important. It's not just those who come by boats, but those who go in other means, such as could be going through the Eurotunnel, hiding in trucks. There's lots of other ways that they're using different means to try and come to the UK, even trying to get through on the port of Dover somehow. There's lots of ways that they will try to come to the UK, and not just by boats. Right. So here's a bit of an explanation for us, guys. So why has 22,000 migrants been left in limbo? The government originally wanted the entire Illegal Migration Act to apply to small boat migrants who arrived after the 7th of March last year, with the then Immigration Minister Robert Jenrick claiming that they could otherwise be in a fire sale of migrants seeking to enter illegally before the bill was enacted. But the House of Lords inflicted a series of defeats on the bill, backing several amendments, stopping key measures coming into force until the law was passed. Bringing one of the changes, crossbencher Lord Carles said the plan would set a dangerous precedent whereby the government could consider retrospectively based on no more than cohesive and adherence. With the clock running down before Parliament's summer recess, the government lodged some of its own amendments to appease peers, meaning the duty to remove could not apply to migrants arriving before July the 20th. But another key part of the law, Section 30, kept the original start date and stated that small boat migrants arriving on or after March the 7th must not be given leave to remain in the United Kingdom unless it is limited. The consequences of the clash do not appear to have been immediately appreciated inside the Home Office, because efforts have been focused on the Prime Minister's pledge to clear a backlog of older legacy asylum claims by the end of last year. This is a bonanza of a problem. Following the Prime Minister's drive to clear more than 90,000 old legacy asylum applications by the end of the year, the Eye understands that the Home Office caseworkers are now focusing on claims lodged between the July 2022 and March the 6th this year. Liberal Democrats Home Affairs spokesperson Alistair Chimmel said incompetence and incoherence would undermine efforts to properly deal with the backlog. Leaving so many vulnerable asylum seekers in limbo, unable to work, benefits no one, he added. The Conservatives need to end this chaos, get to the bottom of this mess, and stop wasting money at the expense of the taxpayer. A Home Office spokesperson said the caseworkers were working through the next cohort of applications after attempting to clear the backlog of legacy claims. We are now considering how and when the measures of the Illegal Migration Act will be commenced following the Supreme Court's judgment on Rwanda and the process of the Safety of Rwanda Bill through Parliament, a statement added. Our processes are being considered and improved to ensure that asylum claims are carefully considered in the most effective way. What an absolute mess. What an absolute mess by this Home Office. And we already covered here on the channel, guys, about from another article that I think it was even from the Eye as well, about how we are taking in, excuse me, we are taking in Rwandan refugees while trying to deport refugees from our country to Rwanda. You just couldn't make this crap up. It's just insane. They have completely lost control. They have so badly lost control of the Home Office. This government has no control whatsoever. I mean, I understand. I know that Brexit has made things worse. It has made things worse. But my God, did they really F up so badly when it comes to tackling migration? And now they've left 22,000 migrants in absolute flipping limbo because of this desperation to get this Illegal Migration Act in. It's insane. This is not just 22,000. This is people. These are lives here we are talking about. Human beings. I have to keep emphasizing that. People here who cannot work or contribute to our country, cannot be deported, and are stuck in this situation. And the only way to deal with it is with a legislation of some sort. That's the only way. That's the only way I can see this. Because they tied themselves in absolute knots over this. It couldn't be more of a joke. £1.5 million a day taxpayers are paying for this. So what do you make of this cluster? This mess that the Home Office has made? Does it give you more assurances not to vote Conservative at the next general election? This was not happening 14 years ago, guys. Let's remember that. Let's remember that. Let me know your thoughts on this crazy story in the comments down below, guys. If you found this video interesting, please hit the like button. Be greatly appreciated. Share this across social media, guys, so other people are aware of this video. And subscribe, because it really does help support the channel. And if you want to financially support me in the work that I do here, you can do so by becoming a YouTube member for as little as 99p, or joining me on Rumble or Patreon for exclusive content there as well. Thanks so much for watching, guys, and I hope to catch you all very, very soon.